Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain-Bergman, CEO of Bridgeport Strategy and co-founder of the CEO Holy Grail. I am excited to have a fun time with this group of ladies that are here today. My co-host today, my guest co-host, is Lisa Thimmesch. Welcome, Lisa. So glad that you are our co-host today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Regina. I'm going to correct you just quickly on my name. Sorry.
Oh, please. Thank you.
No, it's Thimmesch. There's a lot of silent letters in it.
Thimmesch. Yeah. And I always want to flip-flop the I and the E too. Every time I type it wrong and have to go back and correct it.
Yes, it is definitely a challenge. But thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Obviously very excited to have this group of ladies. I think very highly of each and every one of them. And so getting them all together for this is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So folks, Lisa is a leadership coach. And Lisa, I want you to tell them a bit about your journey, who you serve, and why that's important to you.
Okay. And, again, thinking about this group of gals, they're all part of my journey in some fashion. So I appreciate that about them as well. I very recently, made a transition out of corporate world. I've been in the corporate world for 30 plus years, 20 plus of those as a leader. Just had a great opportunity come my way. So I was able to transition out of that corporate world into full-time coaching. I got introduced to coaching by Kelly. So great thanks to her on that. I was going through a stage in my career where I was just looking for more. I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't growing as a person. I wasn't growing as an employee. And I was looking for more. And she just threw it out there one day at me. It's like, hey, have you ever thought about coaching? And I was like, what is that? And, she introduced me to the coaching world, and I have not looked back since. It has changed me personally in ways that I cannot even describe. Made me a much better person, a better leader, just more patient, more self-aware as who I am. And I'm excited to be able to continue to carry that forward and help other people, find a similar awakening, I guess is the best word I can think of, when it comes within themselves.
I love that. And it's not something that we talk about a lot in the coaching world or maybe even think about sometimes, but the personal growth that we get from being a coach, it is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the way I always think of it is it's priceless, honestly.
Yeah,
you cannot,
absolutely.
You can't put value on the coaching growth that you get while being coached as well as coaching others.
Yeah, exactly. And you never want to go back, right?
Oh gosh, no. No way. My family might want me to go back at times.
Yeah. Personally, I think I'd make a terrible employee these days.
There is that, right?
Yeah, there is that. I used to be a good one, but now I would not be a good employee. Oh, goodness. Well, it's great to have you here as our co-host today, Lisa. Would you please introduce the panelists that you've brought and have each of them share about their journey, who they serve, and why?
Absolutely. I'm going to introduce them based on the length of time that I have known them.
Oh, so, fun.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to tell a little story on how we know each other. So I'm going to start with Kelly Turcotte. Kelly and I actually live in the same community together. Fun fact, she knew my husband well before I knew my husband. Sometimes it's like, yeah, he's your brother, take him. But no, they grew up with each other. He was good friends with her brothers. But Kelly and I connected a lot more closely, I would say, within the last 3 years. And collaboration as its finest. Kelly contacted me and she was looking for an accountability partner when it comes to working out. And she's like, hey, would you work out with me? And we haven't looked back. I mean, we hit it pretty solid 3 to 5 days a week and haven't looked back and been doing that for 3 years. So,
wow.
Yeah. And also, again, big shout out because Kelly was the one that introduced me to coaching.
Fantastic.
Thanks. Your turn, Kelly.
Yeah. Lisa, it's pretty easy to recommend you to coaching because you always have such great insights. And that was one of the first things that I got to learn about her, in addition to the fact that she married her husband, whom I had known many years prior to him being a husband and dad. So My background, I was a classroom teacher for 20 years, and I was given the pleasure of learning about the work that I do now as a coach through my school district and professional learning around leadership coaching and what that entails. And when I had the chance to transition out of the classroom and into this role, something deep inside just resonated. It was one of those things, and I'm sure everybody in this call, you just know. Even when people say, how do you know? You say, I don't know. I just know. So the work that I get to do right now is leadership coaching for school administrators, some nonprofit leaders, and then I do group coaching and team development within those same two roles. And I love doing it because, especially the teamwork and collaboration, the work of people in education and nonprofits is far too important and far too incredible to expect any one individual to know it. And the stronger they learn to collaborate and be a part of a team, the more people, i.e., students, families, and communities, get served. And that's my big why.
Yeah, nice. Very nice.
Okay, well, Linnell gets to follow that. So, Linnell Shaddles, Linnell and I actually met through a barter coaching program last year, I believe. We were teamed up with each other to coach and be coached by one another. And we have continued to keep that on. We actually talk on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times a week now. And we're in the process of trying to put together a group coaching program. We've never met in person, though. She did move closer, so she was feeling my vibe and wanted to live a little closer, moved from the West Coast to now the Missouri area. So we're working on trying to set up some time where we can meet in the middle someday and actually meet in person. So welcome, Linnell.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So yes, moved to the Midwest from the West Coast. And before that, I was on the East Coast, which is where I met Shana when I was living on the East Coast. But I come from a corporate HR background, and that is kind of the fuel behind, I think, the coaching that I'm doing today, is that tapping back into the leadership space and supporting that mid-career, mid-leadership parent that is just trying to juggle all the things. I mean, I say if I had me back then, I might have made some different choices, but I didn't. And so I have learned so much along the journey, being a military spouse, moving around a lot, and just finding that my career needs to be flexible and to have fun and just to have that freedom. And so that's something that I really instill in my clients, is that boundaries and focusing on what's essential in their life so that they can have more of what's just really closely aligned with their values and what really brings them the most joy. Because we are not living this alone. As a mother, my children or my daughters are always watching what I'm doing. And I want to be that role model for having it all and being able to travel and to do the things that really bring me sparks. In fact, I mean, I'm spur of the moment, just going to Memphis this evening. This was something my husband and I just planned this morning, and we will be back tomorrow. So that's just kind of a flair for who I am, and really wanting to embrace that type of lifestyle.
Okay, thank you, Linnell. So next is Shana Bergman, and she is not related to Regina. I think we did a little genealogy beforehand. Yeah. So I actually was introduced to Shana through Kelly, because Kelly and Shana did some barter coaching together. But now Linnell and Shana are also doing some barter coaching together. So I think, like any kind of industry, you do find sometimes that it's a small world. But I also think it's a very good testament of surrounding yourself with people that will build you up, that want to see you succeed. And it's also a very, very powerful message on collaboration. You know, I became introduced to Shana through Kelly and Linnell. I've introduced Linnell and Kelly to each other when I thought they had something that they could benefit and share with each other. So I think it's just a little shout out to our discussion today and where collaboration is at its finest. So Shana, take it away.
Sure. Thank you for that lovely intro. And I am so feeling so joyful just looking at this screen and knowing these people in these interesting ways. So I actually had always wanted to be a coach. When I was a little girl, I used to listen to Tony Robbins with my parents because they were building a business. And so the idea that people had this powerful potential that they didn't know how to tap into just fascinated me. So I ended up going down the route of corporate HR so that I thought I could help people in that way. And I've been in various organizations from multi-billion dollar global companies to startups. I also taught in the university system. And for me, I just kind of knew that this was my path, but I needed to wait for the right time. And so it was really when I found myself in a talent leadership role at a massive company, juggling that role, juggling a big team, juggling my little kids and my household duties and my social life and all the things I love to do, that I realized I think I can be more help stepping outside of this place and helping people like me who are trying to juggle all of it. And so I walked away, much to the surprise of a lot of people, to start my coaching business so that I could help parents in leadership roles who feel like they are trying to navigate between showing up fully at work, showing up fully as parents, so that they can feel like they have it all. Because similar to Linnell, I feel like you can. I am living proof of it. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of an outside accountability partner, somebody who knows how to ask you the right questions, somebody who can hold a mirror up, somebody who can challenge you. And that's why I love this work and watching people, do things that they just never thought possible. There's really nothing more fulfilling to me. And for me, it's really leaders in particular, because not only are they struggling, but they are role models for other people. And so if I can think about the impact I want to make on people, and if I think about the impact that leaders make on people, that to me is where it actually starts. It's with the people at the top. And so that's why I love to do that work, is because I know the impact that they have, that ripple effect on everybody else.
Yeah, I love that. And, just recently stepping away from being a leader to, many colleagues, that was absolutely always my thought, is how can I make their lives better? And we need more leaders, because you see often that people leave because of leadership. So I love that. I also want to throw a big shout out to Tony Robbins as well. I'm pretty positive I still have his whole cassette tape series tucked away somewhere.
So do I. In fact, I listened to it recently.
Go, Tony.
I'm gonna have to dig it out now.
I love also, Shana, that you mentioned the ripple effect, and that's a big piece for me, that we get to be a part of that ripple effect. We get to help one person make a difference in their life, and they go out and change other lives.
Absolutely.
It's so powerful and empowering and rewarding, and just, love that.
Okay. So Danielle, we actually met each other 3 weeks ago, maybe something like that. I had reached out to a friend of mine, another great example of collaboration. I had reached out to a friend of mine asking some questions about female athletes and the coaching around female athletes and a need for it. And she was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. There's a huge need. She shared Danielle's contact with me, reached out to Danielle. She was gracious enough to have me come into her home, and we sat and chatted for quite some time. I think we probably could have gone longer, but I needed to go home and stuff. But I feel very much a kindred spirit with her as well, listening to her story. And so I was very excited to have her join us on this show today. And introduce yourself.
Thank you, Lisa. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I'm taking notes because there's so many things you guys are saying that really resonate with me and in my journey to where I am today. I actually started, to start from the end and go back, I'm focusing on working with athletes and actually business executives, any sort of corporate professional or business owner as well. So really people who are looking to be like high performance in whatever they're doing. And that experience is really drawn, or that like goal, I guess, is drawn from my personal experience. Lisa, you said something about to the effect of, we are who we are, so we can help others do the same. So we made it here, and now we're looking back to kind of, pull everybody up with us. And so I started, at a young age playing competitive sports. I really loved it a lot. I made it to a really high level in sports. And all the while, maybe not all the while, but maybe in college, like starting to struggle with anxiety in sports and not knowing what this was, a little bit of depression in college. And really none of that stuff was talked about then, over 20 years ago. And so I struggled a lot in college with sports and performance in sports and feeling sort of alone in that. Then I went into the corporate world and worked in a male-dominated industry, the automotive industry, and really tried to work my way up, but had all male bosses. And I can tell you that I was envious when all of you mentioned having female mentors, which made me really want to be a female mentor because I didn't have any. And like Linnell said, I probably would have made other choices had I had somebody guiding me during that time. But yeah, like some of you have said too, like I'm working in the corporate world thinking I'm making a difference, and eventually kind of hit that, call it a ceiling, call it a wall, but it was just, I feel like I'm not helping anyone anymore. I'm just kind of following the rules, and I'm fighting the people up here, and I'm trying to help the people down here, and I really struggled with that. So I started looking externally, like what else can I do? And I got into business coaching and started my own business coaching firm. And as I was doing that for probably a couple of years, I'm still involved with that a little bit, but I noticed that most of my clients were venting to me. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I'm too nervous to do social media. I don't know. I'm too old to learn something new, and imposter syndrome and burnout. And eventually my clients started calling me their business therapist. And I loved that so much. And I don't remember who mentioned it. I think it was Kelly, about like, when you know. My entire life, I have always been curious about mental health. And there have been signs here and there, me interviewing sports psychologists and what is it that you do? This is so fascinating. And so there have been moments in my life looking back that my intuition was pulling me toward becoming a therapist, and I just kept ignoring it. So then I finally was like, all right, I'm going to do it. And I have never felt more sure about anything since I began this program. And it's just like how you guys were talking about how coaching really, you look inward and you start developing and becoming a lot more self-aware, and it's such a journey. It's the same sort of path as part of becoming a therapist. It's back to the so we can help others. You got to learn your idiosyncrasies within yourself to be able to see things in others and understand and help and know how you show up to them. So yeah, that led me all back to becoming a therapist who focuses on people who struggled with the things that I struggled with. So that's sort of my journey, and I guess a nutshell, a very large nutshell.
I love it. I don't know. Did we lose Regina? And now I'm on by myself.
Yeah,
I'm here, ladies. Sorry.
She is.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I saw your cat walking
Yes,
across the room. I needed to introduce the cat next. So
I forgot to close my office door before we started. So folks, you get to see one of my cats prancing back and forth today. Sorry about that. I was trying to keep them out of the picture, but I totally forgot to close my office door.
Yeah, I think that's a prime example of where things happen and you just got to go with it.
And you just go with the flow. So I thought, well, I'll just grab her real quick. I'll turn on my camera and I'll grab her real quick. And no, she went up on top of the file cabinet, and that they like to hang out up there and look out the window. So
all right.
Anyway, go ahead, Lisa.
No, I was just going to thank each of them for sharing their stories. I definitely pulled some individual pieces out of it, but I also heard some common threads behind each of our stories. So I love that too. But I think the biggest common thread, and I hope I'm not stealing your thought here, Regina, but I think one of the biggest common threads that we each have is we've all been through something that we've learned from that we want to carry forward and help others, because we've not just survived, but we've thrived out of that.
Right.
And being able to help others through it is the biggest gift that we could give to ourselves, and in return for that.
I think that's a great foundational piece, but I'd like to take it to the next level in terms of one of the things that I heard you all talking about as well that has served you so well from that perspective is the barter coaching. and that you are willing to not only coach but be coached, and how you've learned and grown from that. And so I'd like to have us maybe talk for a few minutes about how would someone go about starting that type of collaboration. How can they set that up where they are, or who should they look for, what should they be doing, how could they create that kind of network that is going to be so supportive of them and their growth and of each other. And then, of course, we get back to the ripple effect, right? As we're improving ourselves, we have that opportunity to create more of that ripple as well. So let's kind of talk about it from that direction to start with and see where it goes.
Yeah, and I'll start with that a little bit. And I think for many of us, we actually are part of a program that matches you from a barter coaching standpoint. So somebody's doing that work for us, which is phenomenal. But I think the key of it is, first of all, recognizing the need. Even though many of us are coaches and we have all grown significantly, probably over the last 2 to 5 years in who we are, recognizing that we can still grow and have the opportunity to grow is so key. And then taking it that next step further and making it happen. So whether you do find a program like what we're in that does match you up, or you just reach out to somebody and say, hey, do you want to do some barter coaching? You've got some similarities, you've got some connection. And so there's an opportunity to have that conversation. And the worst they can say is no, but then that wasn't the right person for you to be able to coach with anyways.
Right.
I don't know if others have anything else to share on that.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'll jump in. Before I was a coach, I loved the idea of coaching, but I didn't need a coach. And then going through the program and then saying to myself, gosh, I can't be coaching people and not have my own and go through my own experience. It was the reason I joined that type of group. And man, when you get a Kelly Turcotte with you face to face, challenging you and pushing you and helping you see what you can't see, there's no reason why everybody should be doing something like that. It's why I want to yell to the world, get a coach, because you really don't realize how you are getting in your own way, even from this type of collaboration standpoint, until somebody points it out to you who's outside of you. Your brain just does not have the ability to see things that somebody else can see. And so I would encourage anybody with any type of opportunity to mastermind with somebody else, to partner with somebody else, to have a thought partner. There's just such magic that happens in that type of space.
Yeah. And I would say, I forget what the quote is, but it's something about if you go alone, I don't know, you go faster when you're with somebody else. And so somebody else could maybe pull out that quote. But I feel like that's where Lisa and I started talking about this. We had some ideas as what we wanted to do with some group coaching. There's kind of some overlap. And honestly, I can hear the theme amongst all of us. We've all been in a bigger organization before. We've had those resources. We've had that network. We've had those connections and those communications. And it can be really, really lonely if you're left here by yourself, left to your own devices. And we can have more impact, more ripple impact by what we do together. And so that's the biggest thing too. I mean, that's how Shana and I originally met, was when I was living back in Virginia for a hot minute. I wanted to bring community together. And so I brought together coaches that were in the Northern Virginia area. Shana and I never met face to face, but we were a half an hour probably from one another. But it was just that need of you're not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that we can share with people, is that when you collaborate, you get more ideas, you come together, you have more energy, and you have more lift than trying to do it alone.
Linnell, kind of building off what you shared there, reaching out for community. Prior to me even knowing what a coach was, or other than an athletic coach, which again was my background growing up, right? Every single one of us knows at least one or two people in our life who, I'll say, they push us to be our best self. They push us to align with our values. And we also know people that we go to in our own life that will align to us and reaffirm those. And I think when you're talking about how do I find out how to do this, you might not know any coaches, but you do know people in your life that will question you and, air quote, put you in your place. People will just go, yeah, you're right, you should be whatever. And if you want to push yourself, go to the people that push you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally don't have any experience with barter coaching, but I can understand where you guys are coming from. And I've had a business coach myself, helped me build my own program, and it was extremely instrumental in getting me started with my business coaching. Also, it is extremely common for a therapist to have a therapist.
Mm.
A lot of it is, when you're working with clients, it can feel very isolating, and you're really trying to have an impact on your clients. And it might be like, well, their life is in my hands, and what if I say the wrong thing? And so it's always nice to have that. We have supervision, we have consultations, peer supervision. Really, a lot of that like supports what we're doing. But then, for me, going to therapy, I originally went because of my struggles in corporate and trying to help with conflict resolution and why am I stuck in the middle and, all of those things. And I think at the time I thought, okay, I'm desperate. I'm finally going to go to therapy. But it was more of like a desperation act. But today I feel like therapy is a lot more common and can be seen more as like something that could help you level up instead of something that you go to when you're struggling with grief or loss, or if you have some sort of like actual disorder. So I found like my therapist personally worked with a ton of executives, and so she knew what she was talking about when she talked about corporate structure and stuff like that. And so yeah, I think that it's I can't remember who said it, but like you're always trying to improve. And that's that self-awareness factor. And in therapy, when I'm working with clients, it's not just that you're saying things and holding up that mirror to people. It's also that deep down, maybe they don't want to believe that fact. And unconsciously, they don't want to believe it because it might poke at some sort of feeling that they have deep, like I'm not enough, or something like that from that's hidden deep down.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's I think just very valuable. Always be learning.
Yeah, and I maybe want to add in there. I know we've all talked about our journeys through the corporate world, and how we have transitioned out of that. Coaching, of course, has been vital to all of us in part of that transition. But I don't want to take away from the capability of collaborating within the corporate world as well. I mean, I had many times throughout my career where I had a team of people that I could trust, that I could bounce ideas off of, that I could have them check me and push me and challenge me within that corporate space too. And so that's really what you're looking for in relation to collaboration is people that you can trust, to Kelly's point, that are going to push you and challenge you, that see you even better than you see yourselves. And they want you to live up to that potential. So again, it doesn't have to be a coach. It can also be a family friend. It can be a family member. It can be somebody that you currently work with, in your own organization as well.
Excellent. And that kind of takes me to where I think I'd like to go next, and to picking up on that, and also Danielle's comment about being alone as a therapist or as a coach, whatever. I remember years ago in my first leadership role, I was the assistant manager of a credit union. And I remember still driving home one day and thinking, it's lonely at the top. So taking that, how can a leader collaborate to be the most effective leader and to not be lonely at the top, but to have that team, whether that's people on their own corporate team or their own team, or it's people outside of their team, as you're all doing in your barter coaching? How can a leader collaborate to be the most effective leader?
I have all kinds of thoughts on that, but
I do too.
Good. We'll have a lively discussion.
Yeah, I think the first thing that pops to my head when you say that is check your ego. Because absolutely it is lonely at the top, but there are other people at the top that are also lonely, first of all. So being able to find those that are maybe on a the same type of career level that you are. But you also can collaborate with people on your team, those direct reports for you. And that's one of the things that kind of continued to keep me moving forward recently in the corporate world is I had a great team that worked for me, and we were able to work together. We called ourselves the first team. We were able to work together, again, really challenge each other, have each other's back. It still boils down to that trust factor. In my opinion and my experience, when it comes to collaborating with others, you got to trust them to be able to hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. Shana?
So what comes to mind for me is vulnerability. I think that there is a misperception at the top that is, I have to know everything. I have to have it all together. I have to lead stoically. And I think that gets people in a lot of trouble. And so when I'm working with a leader who has that mindset, we spend a lot of time talking about what are you actually feeling? Because you are having feelings through this experience. And by pressing them down and seeming as if everything is fine, it's causing a big disconnect with your people. And it's really, right, we're human. Anybody wants to feel seen and they want to feel not alone. And the truth is, our human experience is very shared. And so when you allow somebody this space to start to be open, you start to connect with others, you feel less alone, you're more accessible, and you can lead almost from behind in some way rather than from the front, which is a different way of leading. And I'll tell you, even as a leader myself, I went through this transition as a new leader, which I think is something a lot of new leaders struggle with, which is I need to know it all and I need to make it seem like everything's going to be fine. And yeah, there's a component of that, but I learned through the amazing team that I had, I needed to lean on them and I needed to tell them when I was struggling and I needed to tell them I still saw the vision, but here's where I needed help. Here's where it was tough for me. Here's where I could lift them up, and they lifted me up too. And I think we forget that it is a collaborative connection. It does not have to be, based on title alone. That certainly is a component, but there's a lot more to it. And I think that comes with vulnerability.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And that collaboration with your team, not just with other leaders, but collaborating with your team creates a great bond and the ability for that team to accomplish so much more when you're collaborating within the team. Linnell?
You took my word. I had be vulnerable written right here. So I'm like, oh, we are so tracking on that one. But yeah, it just makes us human. When we're vulnerable, we become human. And that's so much of our time is that you have this, I see it more so in my clients who are newer leaders, that they feel like Shana said, they have to know it all. They have to be all. And just being human, like, I don't know it all. I don't have it all. And so like, you're stronger together. And I looked up the quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so that is, this African proverb. Yeah. I think it's so true for us. And the other thing I will share is just, the emotions. I know Shana talked about that, and it's like, I'm fine. Well, somebody shared with me here in the last 2 minutes, FINE, the acronym is feelings I'm not expressing. And so when we start to express those feelings and start to be real, and it opens the door for connection and for letting down that guard and opening up the door to like, we're all in this together, as opposed to, it's so heavy if you try to do it alone. So
I'll remember that. Feelings I'm not expressing.
I've been known to say that a few times in my marriage.
Haven't we all? Kelly, what are your thoughts on this?
So kind of jumping into the flow of what, Lisa talking about ego, Shana talking about awareness of feelings, and Linnell being human, right? What comes up for me is what's possible when you're aware of the story that's driving what you're doing. And so sometimes when I'm working with leaders or even teams, it's what are specific phrases, specific things you can do to notice and counteract those. And one of them is mentioning it. I tried to lead by example here, right? What Shana, Lisa, and Linnell said that triggered a thought in me, because I don't think independently. Each time one of them shared, it generated an idea for me. And I think when you go into truly build collaborative teams, if you don't want to be the person that everybody thinks has all the answers, you first start by saying, hey, when you said that, it brought up this idea, because then people not only know they have a place, they begin to be more willing to contribute because you've recognized it.
Yeah.
And, you place ideas on the table for the team instead of, well, I think we should, or my perspective is, you just take out the I's and the me's and you start by recognizing the others and how their thoughts and contributions connected to something that you shared. And connection came through once everybody talked. I'm like, oh yeah, we're all like hugely valued around connection to ourselves, to others, to something bigger.
I love that. You're adding value to that person.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Danielle?
Yeah, everybody just such great ideas. The fine thing kind of makes me laugh a little bit because I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but I have a feelings wheel in my office. And it helps clients who have a hard time expressing like their actual emotions. If it's just anger all the time, it's maybe not anger. And mine doesn't appear anywhere on that feelings wheel. So you nailed it. And the other thing I was going to say, it kind of encompasses like everything that you guys have said. While I haven't had any real female mentors, there was a boss that was male. And one thing, his approach to leadership was really like, everything is my fault, but nothing is my win. It's your win. But if there's a mistake, it's my fault.
Right.
And so he would go around saying like, I'm so sorry, I did this and I didn't set you up for success. And that typo, that was my fault. I rushed you, and this failure of this product launch, that was on me. That's my failure. And he wore it so proudly. But it's so counterintuitive as a leader to do that because you think, oh no, everyone's going to think that I'm a failure. But the opposite was true with him. Like everybody loved this guy and he was approachable and he was definitely not alone. He always had people in his office talking to him. Everybody felt comfortable around him. He was one of the few, maybe only male leaders in the company that respected everyone's expertise that they brought to the table, even the women. And he would say things like, Danielle, you're the expert on this. How about you talk? And just stuff like that. I think sometimes people think if I give away the credit, no one's going to know I did it. If I say my team did this work, they're going to think I didn't have a hand in it. My team did it. It's not true.
Yeah.
We all thought this guy is so successful. All the teams under him are so good at what they do. They're happy. They're performing. No one ever thought this guy's a failure and this guy hasn't done anything here. Isn't that crazy? It's just the complete opposite worked.
What a great leader.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot of what you guys are saying is what he was doing.
Exactly. Now, Lisa, you said you had lots of ideas on this subject, so we want to hear some more of those.
Well, I mean, we've gone so many directions. Now I'm like, what was the original question that came out of that?
On this part, it was, how can a leader collaborate to be the most effective leader, to be more effective in their role?
Yeah, unfortunately, both Shane and Linnell also took one of my other thoughts was that vulnerability, being vulnerable. And, you often hear people, I don't want to be the smartest person on my team. When I'm leading a team of individuals, I kind of want to be the dumbest person on the team. I want to surround myself with people that are smarter than me. And I'm just there to help them in whatever way they want that from me. And I think that type of thought can benefit us in so many ways outside of the workforce, in the day-to-day. It's about surrounding yourself with people that will help you be better, push you. We've talked a lot about that, push you and challenge you. Maybe call me on my crazy at times. I don't know. I got a few of you on here that'll do that. But
Kelly's smiling.
We had this conversation this morning.
Yeah, but that's okay. I've refreshed myself. I'm good at that. Yeah, but it really comes down to wanting. You have got to want to hear what
Mm.
others have to say. You've got to want to bring other people aboard. And you cannot do that if you're selfish. I mean, when you see people that are collaborating well, those are your team players. Those are people that, again, recognize the benefit of a group versus trying to do it on my oneself. You're not going to be as successful if you think you're the only person that has the answer, or you're the only person that can do the work. Because I have learned so much from the people that have worked for me in the past that's just continued to help me be a better leader, help me be a better employee and a better person. And so we've always got something that we can learn from others, and we just have to be willing to take that opportunity and go out there and be vulnerable around it.
I would love to add just a little more onto that, in that for me, when I think of like building collaboration and how to reinforce teams, I'll often talk to them about the word belief. It's the foundation, and it's not just belief in self. It includes belief in the greater good, like why are we here doing this? And the most important piece is belief in others. And if you can't get to the place where you have belief in others, you're going to get cooperation at best, not true collaboration. And to the point of whether you're a therapist with your own therapist or a coach with a coach, not extending belief in others comes back to a question on you. What do I need in order to believe in others? Because until you can find a way to access that, you're on track for cooperation.
If I can add to that too, Kelly, when you say that, I think that also requires self-awareness, and it requires the ability to step back for a moment, to pause. And I think a lot of maybe people that are listening to this, people that we serve, are going so quickly. They're on that hamster wheel. They've got a million things going on. And it almost, I think, becomes an excuse of, I don't have time. I don't have time because I've got to do. You and I have talked about this a lot, Kelly, right? And it's sometimes, I think, a moment of saying, wait a minute, if I just step back for a second, I need to step back to figure out, if I slow down for a moment, how can I then speed up? Because right now I'm running into a wall really quickly, into burnout, and nobody's happy. And so I think it's important, especially for people that are in a lot of these roles, to be able to recognize, like, it does require that pause. It requires it for you to be the best version of you, be it a leader, be it something else. It is necessary to have that pause.
Yeah. And I think that whole idea of go slow to go fast. But something I wanted to comment on, because Danielle brought it up a couple of times, is this male versus female. Like, so she was surrounded by males, and so here we are, a group of women on this collaboration conversation, and I think we start to tell ourselves these stories about the difference between male and female energies. And I can tell you, I worked in a very female dominated industry, like as far as HR, and Shana can probably relate to that, being in HR, lots of females, but we were within lots of males. I worked in financial services and global financial services. So we were kind of in those pockets. So the story I started telling myself was, I'm going to work with women. That's where I'm going to work, because that energy of males is not where I want to go. Well, I love the fact that I got that turned on its head, because what I started really enjoying was working with males, working with these guys that were great parents who were having the same struggles that we're having, but they just probably weren't talking about it like we talk about it. We are all very open to have that dialogue. So I love bringing this collaboration energy together with males and females, because I think we bring a lot of different things to the table. I mean, we start to tell ourselves certain stories of like, it's just a female thing, but it's not. There's a lot of great men out there in this world that have these same struggles that we have. So I just want to kind of throw that out there, that we're all in this together.
Good point. Yeah.
That's funny that you say that, Linnell. Most of my clients are men. Which is, I think, shocking for most people to hear. Most of my adult clients, I should say. And you're right. Like, they just aren't saying it in public. They're saying it in the dark, or they're not saying it at all, or lying to themselves. I know Shana mentioned basically hustle culture.
Yep.
I think that's still very prevalent. And I think people in sports, and it's youth sports, don't even get me started, but like, the adult entrepreneurs, like, they will not take a break, because breaks don't make money, and it feels unproductive. And how am I going to get back into that hamster wheel if I step out? And but not realizing, yes, and just not realizing the toll that it's taking on them without the break.
Right.
Yeah. And it's the same with kids. Like it is, they're so busy and so overscheduled and completely exhausted, and telling them like, maybe you should take a break. They're like, but if I take a break, everybody's going to pass me and they're going to get better faster. And, you know, and so I think it's just a very similar thing there.
And I think that's why the term of self-care has become so much more prevalent these days, is because we are neglecting ourselves. Ladies, we're out of time. We can keep going, but we're out of time. So we're going to move into our wrap-up round, and Lisa's going to run the wrap-up round. So Lisa, you're going to call on each person, including yourself, to share their final thoughts about collaboration and their contact information. And while you do that, I'll put everybody's contact information out in the public comments. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. And I actually didn't follow the instructions at the beginning because I didn't talk about who I coach and my why. But I also do coach leaders. I have a passion for leaders, and I think it goes back to what Shana was saying earlier, where it's that ripple effect. Leaders have the ability to make such a positive impact and unfortunately a negative impact on their team. And nobody wants to show up to work and not have a positive impact. So definitely have a passion for helping those leaders. In relation to collaboration, again, I said this at the beginning as well. I would not be where I'm at today if it weren't for collaboration. If I didn't have people in my corner that believed in me, thank you, Kelly, for saying believe, but for people that believed in me, pushed me, challenged me, and saw more in me than I see in myself at times. You know, we often get in our own way. We often have those words that go through our head that hold us back. Collaboration has opened up a world to me that I didn't have any idea existed. And honestly, I don't know how I will ever move forward without collaboration, because you find a tribe that's willing to be, let you be a part of it. And, you've got to use them and share with them as much as you can. So thank you each of you for being part of my tribe.
Awesome. All right. And then will you call on everybody else to
I'm gonna
and share your contact information as well, please?
Okay. Lisa. Yes. Thank you. So my website is lastingcoach.com. Because, you want lasting results in any kind of coaching program that you go through. So go take a look at my website. Again, lastingcoach.com. I'm actually going to call on Danielle and let her, she had to go last at the beginning. So you get to go first this time.
Oh, thank you. I guess so, all like summary sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Your final thoughts.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on collaboration are, when I sought to do this type of work, I thought that it would be a solo job. Like it's just me and my clients. That's it. And one thing that I have noticed in coaching, and more so because I didn't do coaching for as long, but more so now, it's like it is so much collaboration, and I'm so thankful for it. And I had no idea that I would need that, because I started down this, like, I'm going to do all my own research. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to be my own boss. And I'm going to be, someone said fun and freedom earlier. I think that was Linnell. Like, I'm going to have fun and I'm going to have the freedom, and I'm not going to clock in, and I'm never going to be an employee again. But now I'm seeing like a totally new level of collaboration that's not in the corporate world. And I'm here for it, and I love it. And I also like meeting people from different professions. So it's like similar but different. And so I think there's so much that we can learn from each other. My website is Danielle M, as in Melissa, Wallace.com. And I am working as a therapist at ICT Therapy Works. So my email there is Danielle@ICTtherapyworks.com for people who want to schedule with me.
All right. Thank you, Danielle. Shana, what's your last thoughts on collaboration?
So I was writing something down as we were all talking, and I was thinking about what is like the secret sauce here to it. And what I think it is, and I talk about this with clients, but I haven't really articulated it in this way. You got to have your board of directors, the people that you can collaborate with. So I wrote down a couple and I'll share them with you. You need your cheerleader. You need your hole poker. You need your pusher, somebody that's going to push you outside of your comfort zone. You need your supporter, somebody you can fall back on when you're crying and having a hard day. You need your masterminder, somebody who's going to, help you get new ideas. You need somebody way ahead of you, somebody that you aspire to be. And you need somebody who's where you were when you started. And to me, that's like, I look at this room, I think about like, who is it that like helps me be successful? It is a combo of these types of people, these types of collaborators. So those are my final words on collaboration. My website is shanabergman.com, and you can find me at shanabergman.com.
Thank you. I love that. I might have to have you send it to me.
Yeah, I will.
That was
I will.
beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, Linnell.
Okay. Oh, so many good ideas here. I think collaboration for me is personally, it's a spark. It's a spark that gets me excited about doing new things because I get very, very bored doing the same thing. And so hearing even today, I'm challenged in a new way because of the things that you guys have been sharing. And so think that collaboration can help move us forward in ways that we have no idea. And so we just come in, not even having kind of our own agenda, but just coming in for collaboration for the greater good is something that just comes to mind for me. So, and then I just want to share this quote because it's something on my tagline for my email, but it just sticks with me. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I feel like each one of us have really come alive and passion for the work that we're doing now. And we have past and we have futures ahead of us. But right now, here and now, we are going after things that just keep making us alive and having that impact on other people. So you can find me at linnellshadows.com, and my email is linnell@linnellshadows.com. So love to chat with you.
Okay, love that too. All right, Kelly.
Okay, so right after everybody introduced themselves, the word connection came up. And similar to the word belief, I see connection in three parts, right? You feel connected to others. You feel connected to something bigger than yourself, the greater good. But the ultimate level of connection is when we feel connected to who each of us is called to be. And what I have gained or gleaned from each comment that everybody here has shared today is that true collaboration calls each of us to show up at the table how we were each, or in ways that we each feel called to be. So it doesn't have competition that, oh, I should know that, I should do all this. It is, I'm so glad I have this other person at the table who has these gifts and talents so I can bring mine, and together we create something much more powerful than us. And then it goes back to, again, that introduction where we all just kind of knew. And in true connection and collaboration, when people say, how do you know it's going to work? The team is like, we don't know. We just know because everybody's best self is present, and all the fear and I'm not enough and the invulnerability and all those things, they're all just set off to the side. That there isn't room at the table. You can find me at esdac.org with the Inspired Leadership Team. And my email is kellyturcott@esdac.org.
Awesome. Ladies, thank you so much. Lisa, thank you again for being our guest co-host today. What a wonderful panel of ladies you've brought today. I've enjoyed getting to reconnect with Linnell and to meet others and just great show. Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate it. And I want to thank our viewers, our listeners for being here. Whether you're listening to this now or later, we thank you. And if you enjoyed it, please like or comment or subscribe, depending upon what platform you're listening to it on. And we'll see you next time on Collaboration Conversations. Bye for now.
Thanks, everybody.